Have you ever had one of those days? One of those days where the dog tears up a big piece of the furniture or at least a pillow and gets stuff all over the place. The kids are cranky. Your spouse is sick and throwing up, and your mom and dad are having a rough patch, and the car's broken down. I mean, just let's name it. Whatever could go wrong, it went wrong. You ever had one of those weeks or one of those months? Honestly, I'm sure that we all have. Thank you for being with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. We are going to talk about those crazy patches in life. Oftentimes, we can complain and whine and discuss it and describe it. We can get other people to commiserate with us and, oh, you poor thing. But often, what we need to do, and the principle that we need to lay down in our lives and help our children get a hold of, is that really, all is well. On the worst possible day, all is well. So let me give you some perspective. The first time that I ever went anywhere to do relief work was in the Philippines, and I worked at the dumps. At the time, it was called the Greater Smoky Mountain Dumps outside of Metro Manila, to the northwest of Manila in Quezon City, and actually outside of Quezon too. So, little kids slept in the trash heaps, seldom had more than a shirt on, because shorts were the things that were optional, if you can imagine such things. As long as your shirt's long enough to cover up the vital stuff, you're good to go. And they would sleep there in the trash at night. I cannot tell you how it smelled or how it looked, how they would eat rotten food or even a piece of food that they could find in the trash. And of course, they're competing with many thousands of others digging through the trash for the very same thing. Needless to say, there was a lot of disease. There was a lot of starvation. I saw any number of babies and little children starve to death. Kids die needlessly from things like tuberculosis or even a good dose of the Asian flu. Because, of course, if you don't have money to buy food, you certainly do not have money to buy medicine. Let me put this in perspective for you. There were no such things as social services, as anyone who cared or anyone who could help you. The problem was huge and essentially, in many ways, considered to be insurmountable, even by many relief organizations. You slept in a bed last night. You live in a house that has electricity. Or let's be truthful, maybe you don't, because I lived in a house without electricity for about 6 months with my sons. I couldn't afford it, and we didn't have it. So you don't have electricity. Well, then you have to cook over a fire, or you have a small hibachi grill, or whatever you have. You still have things here in this part of the United States of America and most of the parts of the United States of America where you can get some help if it is all really insurmountable to you. But let's be realistic. Most of you slept in a bed last night, have electricity, have hot and cold running water. Even if you do not have a job, you can collect unemployment at least for a while. You can definitely get some kind of assistance. You can go to a food bank. You may be too proud, that's your problem, but there are places available where you can get your hands on food and clothing and some kind of medical help. What I'm telling you is, even when the car is broken down, even when things are going really wrong, even when someone is really sick in your household, maybe even when someone dies or you've lost your job, still, in the grand scope of life, all is well. I'm going to tell you about a young woman that I counseled in a domestic violence shelter. She couldn't go back to her home because the guy would kill her. She couldn't go back to her man because the guy would kill her. She did have 2 of her 3 children with her. She didn't have any marketable skills. All she had was a GED. And still, within a matter of months in her world, all was well. We helped her. We helped her get training. We helped her get a job. We helped her get a home. We helped her get her kids into a safe situation and even get some counseling. I want you to keep it in your mind. Lay down the principle, all is well. Because, let's be truthful, for some people, and I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but not very much. Okay? They get a hangnail. They have a small leak somewhere in their plumbing in their house, and oh, it's Chicken Little, the world is falling, the sky is falling, and I don't know how I'm going to make it, and oh my goodness. And you know what that is? It's all attitude. It is 100% attitude. My challenge question for you today is this: how is your attitude? When things go wrong, do you panic? Do you freak out? Do you, yeah? What do you do? Because that is in your control. You have something to say about that. And oh, you're teaching your children how to respond to things. You want to lay down the principle, all is well. We are strong and healthy. We have one another. We have a roof over our heads, or maybe we don't for the moment, but we have places we can go. We have alternatives. We have possibilities that are available to us. All is well. Okay? That is up to you. And you have to learn to think logically and correctly, even in the face of challenges, difficulties, problems, or even perhaps almost impossible situations. And you know what? So your dad died and you don't have the money for a funeral. I've seen lots of people do lots of imaginative things. First of all, to get someone cremated is about 500 bucks. If you came up with 10 people that would help you with that, you could probably pay for that. You don't have to get them put into a beautiful urn and go, "Oh, but it's my dad." I get it, but they can still sit in a box. There's nothing wrong with that. And go spread his ashes a place where it would have mattered to him. There are lots of possibilities. If it isn't well and you're freaking out and you're falling apart and you're coming unglued and you're doing the whole Chicken Little, the sky is falling thing, that is about you and your attitude. You need to learn to develop the attitude to have the sense to say, all is well. I was driving a truck one time. It's a 30-foot U-Haul. And I managed to get it lodged up on about a 3.5 foot tall rock. And so I had quite the lean going on. And people are yelling and going crazy. I just started laughing. I'm the person driving the truck, and I'm sitting there laughing. My sister is, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "Not a single thing." But I'm sitting here realizing this is going to be a great story to tell my grandkids. It was all about perspective, and I never once lost my cool. And with all these people yelling and cussing and going frantic, we got the truck moved. It was just fine. I assure you, nothing happened. Nothing in the truck even got broken or damaged in any way, shape, or form. All is well. It was not as dire as everybody was trying to make it out to be. It just wasn't. Whatever that is in your mind that works for you. And for me, it often is, this is going to be a great story to tell my grandkids. That one really does work for me. Whatever that is. Someday, this is going to be one of the shining moments of our family's history. When we look back and say, "You remember when this went on and this and this and that?" I like, oh my goodness. And yet, we had each other and we remembered that. And we were good to each other in the midst of the stuff. We were supportive. We looked for help. We managed. We made it. All is well. Today, I want you to look at what you think could be the biggest problems that would ever hit you, ever. Like you hear that you have cancer, which happened to me when I was 29 years old. I had to get a will. I had to provide for someone who was going to be able to care for my children in the event that I died. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I lived really pretty fully before that, but I lived at 100 miles an hour after that for decades. And I'm happy about that, so you know. And I told my sons that all was well and all would be well. Whether I was here to care for them or not, I would provide for them, which I did have everything established in order that would happen. And I always have been able to provide for them. Look at the worst possible scenario you can come up with. And look at the parts in there where you would cope, where you would handle it, where you would support one another, ways in which all could be well, even in the midst of a really difficult, almost impossible, horrible situation in your life. Is it well? If it really is and there is nothing big going on, I want you to at least once a week make a concerted effort to celebrate the beauty and glory of a comfortable, normal, regular life together. Don't estimate and don't underestimate how valuable that regular life really is. Help your kids to develop an appreciation for the regular stuff of life so that even when problems come, you can say to them, all is well. One of the great reassurances to a kid is, I'm right here with you, and I am going to be here, and we will make it together. May it be well with you today. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.